So, today we are going to talk about actions. Actions about people or anyone doing things for themselves, for each other, maybe emotional action or physical action or anything related to that. So, what do you think? What is the drive behind people's action to anything?
Um, to answer that, I guess we have to observe how our thought is a movement, and so thought has two characteristics, which is concentration and attention. And concentration comes from choice, which is again a movement of thought, you can call it. Like, for example, you're concentrating on one thing and you feel that you're distracted. And then something happens, your thought tells you to not to be distracted and to be into it, whatever you're doing. I feel that uh, paradigm is also a movement of thought. And so there's this conflict between not getting distracted and doing your work properly. So we shouldn't delve into what concentration is because it never works for anyone. Because as you might have known that it's a movement of thought, and when thought moves, your mind is not stable. It isn't there. It isn't free. So what we will be going into is complete attention. What is attention for you?
I guess that differs a lot depending upon the situation. If that's a situation I'm in where it requires my complete attention, it has my complete attention. Like it grabs my attention and I'm completely in the present. It has no distraction attached to it, it has no meaning attached to it. It's just I'm in the present and it's going with the flow, it's going with the physical being of just being there in the present and nothing else. I guess what distractions lead from is because we are not completely attentive in the moment, or that situation or that moment is not capable of grabbing our attention, and that stems from different reasons. Like, why is that moment not precious enough to have my all attention, like complete attention for that moment? So the question is, where does the distraction or the thing that is not stable enough to grab our attention come from? Like, where is the root of it?
To answer what is attention, we have to look into inattention first because we know what is inattention. Attention is something, it's as we have said earlier, the word is not the thing, and thing is not the word. We never actually know what is attention. So we'll go forward with the best uh, possible outcome of inattention. So I think inattention is everywhere. It's in our thoughts, it's how we are aware of things. And as we all know that awareness is a stem of choice, everyone's choice. It can be physical awareness or mental awareness. So there is an intention. Like if you are focusing on one thing, you're obviously not focusing on the other thing. There is this
Relativity.
relativity that comes with it, exactly. So there is no proper ground to stand on for everyone about how one should be attentive and not be attentive. So let's go deeper into inattention. What is an intention? An attention can be something that has drawn you to listening to this audio or to this podcast. So, are you aware of it? Are you aware of the inattention that comes to you?
Also, the question of how aware of are you of that situation or the present moment. Like when we are looking at a tree, let's say that you're looking at a tree. You're not, you should not be thinking that, should not say you should not be thinking, but your mind goes there. You see that it's a tree, you define it as a tree. You don't see, like humans have made up words, like it's just a random sound that we have attached to that thing, and we are floating with it. We are not wholly concentrated on the fact that it's just a being there and we are concentrated on it. For me, when I think of a tree, or maybe I'm looking at a tree, I try not to think of it as a tree, but it just is. It's just there. And I think that's complete attention. Like not attaching a word to it, not attaching a meaning to it, not attaching an adjective to it. Like it's beautiful, it's ugly, it's a beautiful tree, it's an ugly tree, or it has flowers, it looks beautiful, something like that. And I think inattention it comes from the fact that we are distracted from certain strings that lead to our past, or maybe something we learned before.
Conditioning,
Yeah, the conditioning of our mind to see that, okay, we have to define this tree as beautiful, or not see it as it is, because there's no ground for us to say that, okay, it's a beautiful tree.
So you would say that inattention is a thing, right? It's a thing that we can't grasp it, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
And you know that thing, if you look at the word thing, it comes from the Latin word, which I don't remember of, but that word means thought. So you can see that everything around us is made up of thought. So we can attach inattention to the products of thought. And inattention is something that is, okay, we are merely trying to explain this, but let's look at it objectively. Inattention is thought. That we have now covered it. You know that inattention is thought. So you know that your thoughts, everything that it has made, you, and however you think of it, any situation you're put into, the things around you, your mobile phone, your keys, your pillow, your books, your music, everything is a product of thought. And all of those things are inattention. It's trying to distract you. So, how to be aware of attention then? How do we get attention? Inattention can be anything. So, what is attention then? What do you say attention is? Like we are sitting here talking about action,
Yeah.
and we have dealing with attention and inattention. Why do you think we are dealing with attention in respect to action?
When we speak about attention, there's a spectrum that comes into play. That are we making the right choice? Not right. Are we making the
A choice, any choice.
a choice which is favorable to, which is in sync with our body and mind,
Yeah.
which is in sync with.
Do you think that this body is ours? This mind is ours? I don't think like this body that we have, it's completely ours. It's
It's a part of a big thing. It's a part of.
it's like a it's like a roadmap that leads to a million years back. And I think it has his own intelligence, the body. Like if
It
one,
has learned to cope with the environment. It has learned to
Yeah.
cope with survival.
and like for example, if you standing at a very heighted place, you have this fear, which is not, you don't know where that fear comes from. But it's a fear that you're not being pushed or you don't jump off from that cliff or that building. So it's a kind of mechanism that our body has developed to, at that moment, there's complete attention. You know what you have to do, that you don't have to jump off the cliff or from a heighted place. But what happens when, when you're comfortable, really comfortable, so to speak, and you have to make a choice?
Due to human evolution, I think that is the thing that keeps us from actually jumping off the cliff, because humans are after running after survival. That's a basic thing that we are after, right? Survival.
But survival nowadays is all about status, about getting a status and leaving a mark onto the society or something like that, or helping
That's a stem of survival, don't you think? That
Yeah,
okay, see, I'm doing this thing and
I
doing
should
this
be
thing.
revered
Memorized,
and
yeah.
memorized and talked about and all
Talked
those
about.
things.
For years to come.
Yeah, so I think
Even after we are dead, it's like we want to be there. Like we don't want, even after death, we yearn for survival, like in someone's mind or in a thousand people's mind, like how they're affected by that particular person or something.
yeah.
Or maybe not particular about that person, about their ideas, about their thinking process.
Yeah, in this society we revere intellectuality, which is a very bad thing, I think, because intellectuality is something which is very partial. It's of yours.
It's very limited.
Yeah, because it's yours. It doesn't encapsulate the whole of humanity. And that is where inattention is, I feel. Like if we look forward for um, grasping any ideals of any person or from any book, we are merely looking at the words and taking knowledge from something which is of the past. And as we know, past is time binding. And when a thing is time binding, it's fragmented, it's limited.
When you talk about fragmentation,
Yeah.
about the past being fragmented, and say for instance you're reading a poem from someone great like William Shakespeare or like whomever,
Emily Dickinson. No.
whomever,
Yeah.
or maybe mine, you're reading a poem by me, and you're relating the facts to it, you're attaching a memory to it, and you say that okay, I feel this happened to me or this is happening to me,
Yes.
and you gather knowledge from it, not in the way that you will be influenced by it necessarily.
Not attaching my thought to it, exactly.
Yeah.
Only reading it and
only
listening to it.
only reading it and listening to it.
Because we know that past will never happen to us in the future,
Yeah.
and that person's life, like his or her
Words.
words, is also fragmented,
Yeah.
and they're also doing the same thing, going back to something that they experienced and writing about it.
There's no structure to it, like even when they must have created it,
Yeah.
they must have taken it by fragments, right?
Yeah.
And made it into a whole structure of thing that actually made sense.
Yeah.
for them,
Yeah.
and for us as well, as we are reading it, as we are comprehending it in real time right now.
So it is like there's no singular base on which every human being can stand. It's because of inattention, which you can call comes from looking forward for things and going back to the things that happened to us or we did it, and we kind of like make up a assumption that okay, I have to go or believe these ideas.
In order to achieve that, in order
Yeah.
to have that.
So when we believe on those ideals, on those fragmented ideas, there is no complete action. There is this conflict between perception and action.
So, what do you think is the basic necessity that requires for us to make a choice that is in sync with everyone or in sync with everything around us? So, we make a perfect choice, not perfect choice, a single choice where we are not conflicted by it, where we are not in a constant state of terror that, oh, it's the wrong choice or it's the right choice.
Conflict is something that happens between two states of you being here and you thinking that you could be there, which is exactly two states. But it isn't possible. You are not those two states, you are just a state.
Yeah.
And conflict is because of those two states, and conflict is in everything nowadays. It's in books, it's in,
Our thoughts.
yeah, every kind of uh, things that thought is put forth. There's conflict in everything. So, what I would want to propose is this, to not create an opposite of what you're going through. For example, like if one is so called unhappy about his or her own life, I will tell them to question those unhappiness, those unhappy motion of thoughts, and those unhappy, um, you can say, segmentation of thinking and perceiving, and those unhappy actions that you do every day. And I want them to go into it, not create an opposite of unhappy, which is happy. For example, like um, if you don't love eating pomegranate, you should think about why you don't want to eat pomegranate, not create an opposite of, okay, I love mango, that's why I shouldn't eat pomegranate. That's where you're differentiating. It's a very small example, but we always differentiate based upon our conflicting ideas. So, what I'm saying is, if you are aware that in those moments a thought comes up and tells a solution to us, if we are aware that thought is doing this, then I guess there will be complete attention. Because if you are aware of your inattention, then obviously you are attentive about what is not good or right or anything wrong for you. There is this middle ground where you will feel that nothing is good, nothing is bad for you, and there'll be this flow of energy, so much energy that I feel can blur the line between perception and action.
So where do you think the line is?
The line is in the knowledge that we have gained, the knowledge being our past.
Don't you think that's also influenced by many other things?
Yeah, exactly. That is what I'm saying, that one doesn't have to go about um, helping others or helping themselves. They have to be aware of their inattention, of this conflict that happens in an inattention, and I guess that brings about attention.
So now that you have attention, how do you perceive the
Yeah, exactly. There's no, you don't perceive anything. Like, for example, if I'm completely listening to you, I'm somehow inattentive because of my phone or something external.
Hmm.
And if I'm aware of it, that okay, that this girl is right in front of me and she's speaking something really important, and I'm aware that I should not advertise any other external influences on me,
yeah,
then I'm completely attentive at that point.
yeah.
You see, this is not creating a barrier of not doing those other things. It creates a mountain in front of you that you have to climb.
It brings about a sense of possibility lying in front of us.
Yes.
Like right in front of us, not in the future or something, but
Yeah.
right in front of us that we can grasp
Mm.
and then make
We don't
something
have
out
to,
of
I
it.
guess, grasp it, but it's like just looking at it, just observing it. You don't have to take it. Like, I feel the words, the superlative words, don't mean any. I think any word doesn't mean whatever we are saying, doesn't mean anything.
Obviously, it's a random sound that we made up.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
And we should just abhor explaining things to each other, because explanations are easy. You know, if you if you are sick, you can have that. If you are happy, you should have this. If you are not feeling good, go get out and go for a walk or do
That creates again a barrier, right?
yeah, do an exercise or something like that. It's all mind is basically looking for explanations, looking for you can say
An escape.
yeah, you can call it an escape, which is also an entertainment, a form of entertainment. It's a very enterprising mind, you know. And speaking about the mind, if we are completely attentive, there's no two minds listening to one another. There's no two or three or four. It's
There's
just one.
just one mind, yeah.
Yeah. There's only one mind. I feel if you say that it's your brain and my brain and it's my feelings and your feelings, then in that thought there is complete conflict.
Yeah, because it creates two different images, right?
Yeah, two different entities right there.
Yeah, so obviously it's not a relationship. It can't be a relationship because it creates conflict because of the two different images that we have of each other.
Yes.
So I think complete attention would be not creating a singular image, but not creating any image at all.
Yes, it's not about okay. We can say that not creating any image, but in this day and age, creating an image is very difficult. Like
Not
stopping,
creating is
yeah,
difficult.
stop creating those images, stopping the inception of those images that comes into our mind. It's very difficult to do it. What we can do is observe those images that comes to our mind or our
Just
thoughts.
observe, not let it like tell it to get the fuck away or
Yeah,
let it go, or just observe it. And
Yeah.
in the observation lies every answer. Like you're observing it, you're aware of it, that it's there,
yes,
and you accept it. and it's not
Yes.
accepted, not complete acceptance, but it's there. You
You don't
observe
have to
it.
accept it. It's there.
It's
That-
there. It's just there.
it is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like Murphy's law. Whatever can happen will happen. Yeah, you can say it for the present. Whatever is happening is happening.
Yes.
It is happening because there is conflict. You can say that. like I don't like. You can say people explaining poems. The poem is a good thing. Poem embraces what people thought at that moment in time. But if you go about explaining something, a poem, reading between the lines, then it creates, everybody would have a different explanation to that.
Yes, because our mind loves filling that gap, like
Yes.
what is in between the lines,
Yeah.
what made that person write so or think so.
Yeah.
We always crave for that filling up of our minds, like we want to fill up that image, particular image.
Yeah.
But the point is we don't have to, and it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But what do you think that when we make a choice, any choice, how does that lead to a point where we are completely accepting of that fact, not being influenced by it,
Mhm.
not being, flabbergasted by it or
Mhm.
overwhelmed by it?
Mhm.
How do we manage to
Overcome.
not overcome, that's again a negative word.
Yeah.
You
But-
just accept it. It's
yeah,
there.
it's there. You don't have
Yes.
to put any
Yes.
adjectives or superlatives to it.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like if you go to a very beautiful place, there's this river you can call the Himalayas. I went to the Himalayas, and you see beautiful mountains, the breeze, the snow on the mountains, the complete silence there, the wind, and you're absolutely there, and you don't know what to comprehend out of it.
There's no yearning for
Yes.
anything right there at
Yeah.
that moment. And that's, I think, that is the thing that captures us.
And in that moment, there is this utter need to share that
Energy.
energy with everyone. So you call your friend or someone and say, come over here and experience this. Because at that time, if everybody looks at a mountain in the state of mind that I was in, or in a state of mind that has not come from thoughts, it has not come from any kind of conflict, it's just there. This whole in this whole that whole place, there's this reserved energy, and you would want to share it with everyone. You would want to let them observe that beautiful, I won't say beautiful, it's just a thing, mountains and all. And you can't really comprehend. And I feel that is complete attention. You are not comprehending. And there's not a painter or a poet or anyone there. Nobody in that place comes with a status description that I am an engineer or a medical student or lawyer or anything of that sort. There are people just looking at that image, not an image but the actual thing, and they're not trying to decipher anything out of it. There's this reserved energy inside of them which fills them up, and in that perception there is action. Because action is not something that is right or wrong. Action is something that you're aware of your inactions, that you're aware of what is, yeah, you're aware of what is.
I think that's the point that we should be not looking for. It's just a phase of awareness that we have to experience.
Observe, yeah. I
Observe.
think, uh, like, I introduced mountains and valleys and all because if we go there, people or anyone for that matter will feel this kind of energy. But I think it should be there every time, in every city, in every moment, in every road, in every place we go to, because it is as it is. Yeah, so there is complete action in that. You're completely lost, your thoughts are in there, and thought isn't intervening. Action is the product of inquiry of your thoughts. Action that comes from the inquiry of your own thoughts is the most righteous kind of action. That is, yeah.
Why do you think we are so affected by others' perspective on things? Why we are so conflicted by their perception?
Because a mind wants to, it's a very, as we said earlier, it's a very entertaining mind, and mind wants to be everything at once. So when the mind,
Does
our
not get
mind,
that.
yeah, when our mind wants to look at the other person's mind, it's a very appalling thing to say, but yeah, it does that. It comes up with its own conclusion, with its own perception.
It creates an image of
Yeah.
of its own.
Exactly, it creates an image, and that image is different for different people. Yeah, obviously, if you create an image, if you tell 10 people to take a photo of a flower, there'll be 10 different photos scientifically, and so there is no common ground on people where they could stand and just be completely aware of their intention and be attentive.
I don't think there is a need for a common ground because there will never be a common ground for that matter. But the thing is, we have to come to a point of acceptance ki yeah, there are different perceptions and it's okay. It just is.
But if we accept there are different perceptions, I feel that created a whole lot of problem in the first hand, because from there it came.
That comes from greed. That comes from greed and yearning and
Yeah, because from that point onwards, society came into being, because one person perceived that, yeah, I'm different from the other person, so let's make a society where there'll be different castes. Okay, there'll be different castes and they'll be doing different things. Like I'll be reading the scriptures, and other will be farming, and other will be warriors, and all those things. So that's a perception. That's a play of perception that we have
that
accepted.
stems from the early times, like where we had to do it for our survival.
Yeah,
game.
and because it still is happening, it's because of individual perception.
Yeah, but now it's not. It's not. It's the thing. It's the only thing that's dividing us. That's
Yes, it is.
keeping us divided.
Yes.
and that creates a whole
And
lot of problems because we don't
we
have
can
that common ground.
we can also blame social media for it, because like, you have an image of yourself in the social media,
Yeah.
and you think that you think like this.
You will be accepted by others.
Yeah, I'm not talking about acceptance, but
You'll be viewed in a proper light.
yeah, they will revere your
Stance. They'll revere your thought process or something
yeah
like that.
yeah.
They'll keep you memorized and
Yeah.
they'll keep you remember you.
It is because of individual perception. If there is one perception for every human being, there is no discrimination, no disqualification, no wars. There's just complete perception bundled with action. Yeah.